Good morning, Year 8. Today we are going to be looking at functions and algebra. Okay, so last lesson we looked at function machines and they looked something like this. We've got an input and then we say we times by 3, that's our operation. Then we say, let's say we add 2 to that and we get an output. Okay, now this is what we call a function machine. It kind of acts like a normal machine. I mean, you give it an input and it does something to it. In this case, it times it by 3 and then adds 2 to it, and then it gives you an output. Okay, so if I say I put in 4, if the input is 4, then I'm going to times that by 3. That will give me 12. Add 2. Well, 12 plus 2 is 14. Okay, but I don't want to have to write my function like this every single time. That's a lot of arrows, a lot of boxes. I want a nice easy way to write it. And a nice easy way to write it is to use algebra. So in order to write it, what we're going to do is we're going to write it as an algebraic expression. We're going to write it as an algebraic expression. Now that's a big word, or big couple of words, but it's not confusing. It's actually quite easy to do and it's really useful. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in x. That's our input. Now this x represents any number. It could be any number, we don't know it. We're using a letter to represent a number, okay? And then we're going to times that, and then when we put it in as an input, what do we get as an output? Okay, well, the first thing that this function does to it is it times it by 3, so we got 3x. That's 3 times x from this bit, and then we've got to add 2. So that's the output. When we put in x into this function, we output 3x plus 2. And indeed, we can write, that's what's called that's an algebraic expression, this 3x plus 2. So we can rewrite this function as 3x plus 2. That's how we do it. Let's have a look at another example. Okay. So I'm going to say, switch pens. Here's another function machine. I'll say my input is x. Then the function times that by 7 and takes away 3. So let's write this function as an algebraic expression. So we've got the input x, we times that by 7, that's 7x, and then we minus 3, we take away 3, 7x minus 3. That's how we can write that function as an algebraic expression. So I can write in here, the output is 7x minus 3. Okay? Let's have another look at another example. It doesn't always have to be x. Input, let's say w. Then I'm going to times by minus 4, going to minus 10. I get my output. Okay, so now I want to write this as an algebraic expression. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to see what happens to this w. So first off, it gets times by minus 4. So that's minus 4 times w, but we don't write it right like that. We write minus 4 times w as just minus 4w. Okay, and then we need to take away 10 from that, so that we do minus 4w minus 10. There we go. I'll just write that in here. Okay, so that's that. So that's how we can convert function machines into expressions. Now, let's have a look at how we can go backwards, i.e. if I give you an expression, let's say 3x plus 9, and I want you to write it as a function machine. Okay, so a function machine, it has an input. That's our x. And then, so what's happening to our x? We need to be very careful about the order. So what's the first thing that happens to our x? The first thing that happens to our x is it gets times by 3. And the reason it's the first thing is because of BIDMAS. Multiplication, this 3x means 3 times x. And then we've got this plus 9. Well, multiplication happens before addition. So the first thing that's happening to this x is it's being multiplied by 3. So we're going to have to put that in. Draw a box around it. Okay, now what's the next thing that happens? Well, that's the addition, isn't it? So this timesing this x by 3, that would give us 3x. And then to get from 3x to 3x plus 9, we just have to add 9. And that's going to give us our output. So this here is our function machine that we've gotten from our expression. Okay, let's do another example. So let's write minus 4x minus 7 as a function machine. I won't write it out again. Question is the same. Write minus 4x minus 7 as a function machine. Okay, well, I'm going to put my input. What's happening first? Okay, well, the multiplication is happening first. That's the first thing that we're doing to this x. So we're going to times, and then what are we timesing the x by? We need to times it. We've got minus 4x. That's the same as minus 4 times x. So it's times minus 4. That gives us. Okay, so that would give us minus 4x. But then, of course, we've got this minus 7. So the next step is to take away 7. And that will give us our desired output. Okay. Now it's important to note that this is not the same if you flip it. So it's important that you've got the times minus 4 first and then the minus 7. Okay. Right, so what I want you to do now is to pause the video and to look at the worksheet and to complete section 1 of the worksheet. Okay. Section 1 contains 3 questions. I want you to complete all 3 of those questions and then come back and play the video again. Okay? So I'm going to give you a second to pause the video. Okay, so now that you've done section 1, I'm going to show you how you can do section 2. So for this, we're gonna be creating a table of values based on an algebraic expression or function. Okay. So I'm writing a table. I'm saying the x values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we've got to fill in the value of the function 6x plus 2. Okay, so the way that we do that is wherever we see an x, we replace that with 1 here. So that's 6 times 1 plus 2, or 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay, and then for this next one, what's the value of 6s plus 2 when x is 2? Well, wherever we see an x, we're going to replace it with a 2. So that's going to be 6 times 2 plus 2, so that's 14. And so on. We've got 6 times 3 plus 2, that's going to be 20. The next one is 26. And then we've got 32. Okay, let's do another one. This time let's do some negatives. So my values of x, we have minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. And then I want you to work out the value of 3x minus 2 for these x values. Okay, so what we're going to do here is so let's work out the value of this function when x is minus 2. So the way I do that is wherever I see an x in the function, I'm just going to put a minus 2, but I've got to be careful of my negatives. Okay, so that's 3x minus 2 is 3 times minus 2, and then minus 2. Well, a negative times a positive, remember, is a negative. So this is minus 6 minus 2. So I've lost 6, I've lost another 2. Overall, I've lost 8. Okay, now let's do the next one. 3 times minus 1 minus 2. Well, that's, again, we've got a negative times a positive, or a negative times a positive, and so that's minus 3 minus 2 minus 5. And I'll do one more with you guys. When x is 0, we've got 3 times 0 minus 2. Well, 0 times anything is just 0. So that's 0 minus 2. It's minus 2. And then the next one is just... the next one is 1 and then 4. We'll do one more example. Okay, one more example. So my x values are minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. And the function that I want to work out is minus 4x plus 3. Okay, so I want to work out the value of this function when x is minus 2. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a minus 2. But be very careful of the negative. So I've got minus 4x. That's minus 4 times minus 2 plus 3. Okay, well, a negative times a negative, remember, is a positive. So minus 4 times minus 2 is positive 8. So that's 8 plus 3, which is 11. Okay, I'll do the same thing for the next one. Well, now x is minus 1. So it's minus 4 times minus 1 plus 3. Negative times a negative is a positive, so we've got 4 plus 3. That's going to be 7. Okay, I'll do it with for 2 now. So I'll do this one. I'll skip. Well, these ones are this is 3, this is minus 1, and now I'll do what it is for 2 with you guys. So minus 4 times 2 plus 3. Well, minus 4 times 2, we've got a negative times a positive, so that's going to be negative. Okay, minus 8 plus 3. That's the same as losing 8 and gaining 3. Well, losing 8 and gaining 3 is the same as losing 5. Okay? And now you have everything you need to know to complete section 2 of the worksheet. So go ahead and complete section 2 of the worksheet. And to reward you for getting all the way to the end of the video, I'm going to tell a bit of a maths joke. Let me just get my maths joke ready. Okay, so why did the mathematician spill all of his food in the oven? Why did the mathematician spill all of his food in the oven? Because the directions said, put it in the oven at 180 degrees. Okay, thank you very much, and see you next week.